Okay, to start off, let's take a quick look at analysis. We are analyzing G.K. Chesterton's essay, A Piece of Chalk. And the very first thing, step 0, we did it in the last video. So if you haven't watched it, I was reading A Piece of Chalk aloud to you. The very first step is to read the essay. So you can enjoy it, you can take it in, you can get accustomed to it, kind of get your feet wet with what GK is saying, his phrasing, and maybe the main themes that come to mind. So you've already gotten your feet wet, you've already read the essay once through. Here we are in step 1 of literary analysis, and everybody has their own take on this. Okay, I'm not going to say this is the only way to go about analyzing literature because I would be wrong, and I am not an English teacher. However, I am somebody who has taught language arts curriculum to students. I enjoy writing. I'm going to be publishing my G.K. Chesterton biography with Blue Sky Daisies August of 2024. Make sure you get that book if we're past August. And I wanted to just say, this is one of the ways you might be able to do this. So let's take a look. The very first thing you're going to do is number your paragraphs. And so that's what I did first. And we're just looking at this screen. Number your paragraphs in pencil. Obviously, if you make a mistake, you can erase. And you don't want to number when you're taking notes and that kind of thing. You don't want to have like page numbers because your edition of the essay might be different from my edition. You might have gotten your essay off of the internet from maybe the Chesterton Society website or something like that. But I bought my book, Tremendous Trifles. I got it on Amazon, and I numbered my paragraphs. And the essay is in its entire form here. I noticed some of the versions on the internet leave out one paragraph. For whatever reason, it's not in its entire form. So just make sure you're getting the entire essay. So first, after you number your paragraphs, you will look at a lot of these things at once. So this is why I'm introducing this chart or this graphic to you now, because you're not going to necessarily do step 1, vocabulary, step 2, annotate. You're going to actually be doing this kind of like all at the same time. And it's a little tricky for me to explain that, but the very first thing you do, as you're reading through it again, you're going to underline any vocabulary that is unfamiliar to you. You don't have to define your vocabulary yet, okay? I would just be skimming through it, underlining words that you don't know. Easy enough. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to annotate and you're going to notice. So as you're, reading, you're underlining your vocabulary words, if you have something that stands out to you, that resonates with you or surprises you, put an exclamation mark next to that thing in the margins. My book has limited margins, but I was still able to do this. You will also, if there's a question, something that leaves you with questions, question mark next to that. Then notice observations. Observations are things like repeated words, repeated phrases. Maybe if something kind of sticks out to you as, oh, that's a metaphor, or that's juxtaposition, or something like that. I mean, if you're in the upper level English classes, you probably know a lot of your literary terms, literary devices. So, put boxes around those things that stand out to you that are useful in understanding the text or understanding common themes that are repeated. Okay, so highlighting 2 terms for you in this essay, I wanted to just share this literary device, which you probably already know, symbolism, the art or practice of using symbols, especially by investing things with a symbolic meaning or by expressing the invisible or intangible by means of visible or sensuous representations. Basically, gathering the essence of the words that are describing something tangible and transferring that essence into an intangible idea. For example, in this essay, white. You heard the word white chalk. Purity is what white symbolizes. The next thing, roses, this isn't in the essay, but another symbol would be roses, stand for romance. Just a quick example. Here is another literary device you might want to keep in mind for this essay. Theme, okay? And theme, it's kind of it's something hard to grasp, but it is the central unifying idea. It's the bigger issue that emerges as the characters pursue their goals. So it's like if you see repeated ideas or repeated words or phrases, all those things together, if you were to think of the main idea there, that would be the theme or one of the themes in the essay. For example, morality, creativity. Those are two themes that we touch on in this essay. G.K. Chesterton touches on in this essay. So those are just two things I wanted to bring to your attention before I dive in and show you my work and my thinking. Okay, so I'm going to break it down for you. This is what I found as I read the essay, A Piece of Chalk by G.K. Chesterton. So our very first task is to look for vocabulary. I did find a couple of those that I underlined in, and I wrote the paragraphs down. So feel free to write the paragraph number, the word, and then the definition. You can just look it up online, or if you have dictionary. So primal is an adjective relating to an early stage in evolutionary development, primeval, or it could also mean essential or fundamental. Paragraph 3, downs. I wanted to know like a more specific definition because I had an image in my mind, but I didn't know if it was an accurate image. So downs is a noun. It's a gently rolling hill. And this was fascinating. A sub-definition is ridges of undulating chalk and limestone hills in southern England with few trees and used mainly for pasture. I mean, how awesome is that? We found the place where our essay happened, and it was in the definition for downs. So it's very specific to that location. And then paragraph 5, paladin, noun, a knight renowned for heroism and chivalry. Those are my words that I came up with. You might have come up with different words. And now I look at this chart. You all have the handout as well. It's linked. Here we have 3 columns, and you can do this in any like fashion you desire, but I didn't want to divide these columns because I knew we would all write in different sized fonts. That's why I left it open, and I just wrote my own lines after I finished filling it out. So paragraph 1, tying up parcels. Okay, if you look back to paragraph 1, he wrote, that was the last thing I wanted to do. The lady was very logically trying to figure out why he needed this brown paper, right? And G.K. Chesterton just wanted to draw on the brown paper. He liked the quality of brownness in paper, and she didn't quite understand that. She was coming from a more logical, practical mind. He was coming from more of a fanciful mind. So this exaggeration was, the last thing I wanted to do. I just noted that's an exaggeration. And the theme of childlikeness stood out to me here because he was being very fanciful in wanting to just use this paper that you would like probably treat like newspaper or something to that effect. He wanted to use it for artwork. Paragraph 2, this theme of creation, the primal twilight, first fierce stars that sprang out of divine darkness, primeval, infant of the sword. All these things talk about new beginnings and creation. And when we think about creation, at least when God was creating the world and the universe, we think about all the possibilities. Like God in his creative nature had all these possibilities. And just like arts, the arts, artistic pursuits, we see a plethora of possibilities when we talk about the creative process. So I see that significance of combining the brown paper with the colorful chalk. That is a theme here, and it's, the endless possibilities are there when you have this blank piece of brown paper, as it was with the universe at the dawn of creation. Paragraph 3, I found a few juxtapositions. When you take 2 words that are opposites and you put them together in the same sentence, he was trying to describe the downs as both soft and strong opposites. Smoothness of great cart horses. You think of smoothness, you might not think of something something like a strong animal, like a cart horse, but he's putting those two things together. Mighty and merciful, kindly as cottages, and like an earthquake. Safe, like the Downs kept the villages safe, but dangerous at the same time because it looked like a wave that could wash them all away. And so this helps me to kind of imagine the beauty and the power of the Downs of southern England. Both are present here. I had a question. It was actually in paragraph 4, and I put a question mark by it. I annotated that here. I said, why? They are much better worth drawing than nature. Also, they are much easier to draw. When he was talking about the things of the imagination being better to draw than nature, I was wondering, why did he think that? Why would G.K. Chesterton say the imaginary and sacred are much better worth drawing than nature? So that was my question, and I think I answered it in this paragraph. It talks about, that men were inspired by nature. The men of old were inspired by nature to write about noble ideas. So it wasn't that they ignored nature, but they were drinking it in, and out of nature came this wonderful, I guess you could say, eruption of noble ideas. And it's interesting, this childlike theme of being able to see the unseen. G.K. Chesterton was known for this in his writing. So that's a common theme, this childlikeness. We keep seeing it pops up a lot in this essay. And then paragraph 6, white is positive and essential. It talks about this interesting symbolism of white being a symbol of purity and good, as it is in a lot of literature. That's a very common symbol. White is positive and essential. He says it's not just the absence of black or the absence of color, but it is this thing that you can touch. And it is like virtue. It's not the absence of vices, but it is this thing that you can hold. It's this positive thing. And exactly like, all these things like chastity is not the absence of sexual deviation, but it is this good thing that you can hold. Mercy is not the absence of punishment, but it is a plain and positive thing in and of itself. And he also likened white to being like, if there was no white in the world, it would be like having a world with no good people in it. And I believe God's purity factored in to anything, whether it's a created thing or an idea like virtue or mercy. Anything that God touches with his purity is made more pure and more full because of it. In this paragraph 8, he talks about, this was kind of the climax, in my opinion, of the whole essay. And it just was like this aha moment when he figured out he was actually sitting on an immense warehouse of white chalk. And so the land was an immense warehouse of white chalk. That is a metaphor. And the theme, once again, you're looking at is he used what was there around him, what was available, and he was able to make this beautiful art out of it. Industriousness, ingenuity, and creativity are common themes. And you have also the neat thing about the Downs that we learned today is that southern England is known for this, limestone. And so a piece of chalk, it is southern England. It's more, and he talks about at the end, it's more than just a civilization, it's more than just a tradition, it is a piece of chalk. And I just think that is a really great way to close it out. So I'm spurred on to marvel at this conclusion and the connection between using white chalk and how that's connected to virtue and the land. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Okay, friends, in closing, let's just recap what we've done. First, we read an essay by G.K. Chesterton, A Piece of Chalk. Then we went into the literary analysis process. So we found vocabulary words and defined them. We annotated and we noticed and put that on our chart that's provided to you. We identified some literary devices for each of those things we noticed and wrote down what effect those things had on us. Now, there's only one thing left to do. You're going to go back and you're going to reread A Piece of Chalk again. You're going to this time just sit down and read it for enjoyment. I hope you do that because you will get to know him better as a writer You'll get to know just the overall themes and literary devices. It'll be kind of like taking it into your system and digesting it, like that apple we talked about at the beginning of the video. So all those things I encourage you to try. In the meantime, be on the lookout for G.K. Chesterton's work as you peruse things that you want to read this year. Maybe think about his essays. Tremendous Trifles is just one of those collections. He also was a poet. I recommend his Ballad of the White Horse. I don't recommend reading it without having any background knowledge, though, about King Alfred and the I guess, the Anglo-Saxon people and the Vikings. I wouldn't recommend reading it without some historical knowledge or mythical knowledge, but it is one of my favorite poems. I had an opportunity to take a class on it, and I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that. So any opportunity that you have to learn, make sure you do that. And I will be with you, guiding you along in future videos as we look at more of G.K. Chesterton's work. I can't wait to share my work with you when my biography on G.K. Chesterton comes out. And it's just delightful to be able to research a person who had so much, there was just so much content to work with. He was an amazing person. His wife was also an amazing person. Stay tuned for more information on that book, set to be published in 2024 by Blue Sky Daisies. As well, you can find me at hollygeigerlee.com. You can also find me at my Little Bright Schoolhouse on Facebook and Instagram. Happy winter. Happy reading.